What's up, everybody? I'm here for another look back today, and this is actually the first commentary that I've done in a while with the look backs. With the look backs, I kind of gotten into like doing them like my standard reviews, where I play the game, then write the script, and then record on my Samsung microphone and computer and all that stuff. I'm actually gonna do the commentary today, which means I got the headset back on today. I'm mainly doing this because of time constraints. I don't have a lot of time to do this, so I thought I'd just do this with the commentary. And today we're looking at Silent Hill. This released in 1999. This was pretty much Konami's response to Resident Evil. This game went into production mere months after Resident Evil hit stores and made it big and really brought the survival horror genre into the mainstream. And Konami pretty much said, if they could do that, we could do it better. A lot of questions have been asked about this production. How did it get its name? What made them come up with the concept? Really, Silent Hill's production is rather odd because it was left in the hands. One of the reasons it got its name was because of the division of Konami that made it. Konami handed it off to a division that they had at the time called Team Silent. Team Silent was actually a fledgling part of the company. They had produced 2 games up to that point and 2 really big flops. And this was pretty much Konami saying, you guys have 2 strikes against you, fail this time and you're pretty much fired. So they handed it off to Team Silent, and they really prevailed in making this a great survival horror game, and it's one of the, I think, best survival horror games in its genre. And the series has gone on since then. Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 4 was when it started to get really odd. Silent Hill 4 was not initially intended to be part of the Silent Hill franchise. It was developed by Team Silent, but they had initially wanted to release it under The Room, just the Room name. But unfortunately, Konami saw it as looking really similar to Silent Hill, and instead of going into production and making an entirely different game with Silent Hill 4, they just put the Silent Hill name in front of The Room and made it Silent Hill 4. And the series has kind of gone back and forth since then. Origins came out. That wasn't too bad. Shattered Memories was my favorite of the entire thing. As far as sequels and prequels go, Shattered Memories was a remake, actually, for the Wii and the PS2. It was actually a really good game. And I've obviously played a little bit of Silent Hill before doing this, but we'll just start from the beginning just for the heck of it. And let's do normal. I'll only do this video for about 20 minutes. That way you guys don't have to listen to me talking forever. This won't be like my LA Noire look back, where the commentary went on for like 50 minutes. We'll talk about the gameplay first, and then we'll go into the technical aspects of the game. And really, from a behind-the-scenes standpoint, it's really unfortunate that Team Silent is no longer a part of Konami. I think they were really the glue that really held this franchise together, because it's become obvious that the series has really gone off track since Team Silent left Konami. Now, there is voice work done in this game, and obviously with the PS1's hardware, it has to be done sparingly, so we have to deal with subtitles for now. Now, I am controlling this game with the analog stick. You can do it both ways. You can do it with the D-pad or the analog stick. The analog sticks, despite being part of the PS1 controller, it wasn't initially. It was originally just the D-pad and the action buttons, just like your normal controller. They released the DualShock later on in the PS1's existence, and it was this was during a time when the analog stick was not really a common feature. It was optional, but it wasn't really common in the video game world. It was much more common on the N64 than it was on the PS1. And in all honesty, Silent Hill is one of those games that really operates better on the analog stick than it does in D-pad. The D-pad is a little odd with this game. And we hit square to run with our character. If I sound a little off, I do apologize. I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm just a little stuffed up. And we are running after who we think is Cheryl, playing the character of Harry Mason. Now this is where the controls get a bit odd. You'll notice the camera shifts a lot. This is actually one of the very few complaints I had against the Silent Hill game. And really, with Resident Evil 2 is that, the camera keeps switching around. And instead of the controls remaining the same way as if the camera were facing from the third-person position, they change around. So it gets a bit odd. So if the camera's facing in front of you, it's a bit better now. It is odd, that the controls do change along with the camera angles. So it takes a little while to get used to. I've played the game and I'm still trying to get used to this. It's just really, it can be disorienting at times. I do like the horror film feel of Silent Hill, where light is so important in the game. Now granted, the lighting can be deceiving too, because it becomes really tough to see a few things, what's really in front of you, especially depending on where the camera angle is. I think we go right. As we go on, the music will start to pick up as it is now. We should be hitting a short cutscene here in just a bit. Right here.
What is this? What's going on here?
And we face wonderful creatures. Wonderful. Now you're not supposed to win this fight. A lot of people just try to fight back. You're not supposed to win it. It just leads you into a cutscene. Now this cutscene we're going to see here, this is, you could see it throughout the entire intro, what they really did with the 3D graphics on the PS1 with these cutscenes. This is great detail for the PS1. It doesn't look that spectacular today, but this was probably as detailed as the PS1 could go with its hardware. And just like the voice acting, it has to be used sparingly, or else, you lose a lot of the processing power of the PS1. And one of the really big negatives about voice acting on the PS1 has to do with the constant loading times, which means that each line of dialogue has like a really, really short loading time in between each of the sentences being told, which doesn't make the dialogue as fluent as it would be later on with the PS2 and as we hear now in the 360, the Wii, Wii U, and the PS3. This is, with Silent Hill, it's one of very few PS1 games. This is still at a point when the story wasn't that big of a deal with video games. It was, all solely about the gameplay. This is one of the very few games on the PS1 where the story played such a huge role within the game. Your actions in the game changed the ending. That was very unique. I believe there's 5 different endings to Silent Hill. And the different endings, would go along with the series, with each game. And that's a really cool recurring element of the franchise.
Harry Mason.
And we'll just go a little bit farther after the bar scene, maybe 5 minutes after the bar scene, then we'll end it there. Because honestly, the bar scene takes quite a bit too, because you have to pick up a lot of things, and that takes a lot of time.
Where do you think you're going? My daughter. I've got to find her. No way. It's dangerous out there. In that case, I need to find her now. Cheryl's my little girl.
Sorry, I had to cut off the microphone there for a second. Again, I'm getting over a cold, so I had to cough there for a second.
Have you got a gun? No.
I always love the way he said that. No. The voice acting is so corny in the PS1 games and earlier games like the Dreamcast and all stuff where games consisted of voice acting. You know, the voice acting, it wasn't really taken seriously back then. It's obviously being taken more seriously now with games like Halo 3, Halo 4, LA Noire, Grand Theft Auto 4, and soon to be Grand Theft Auto 5. You know, all these games that have such great voice acting in them. It's really amazing to see how that's evolved and how more serious it's being taken now than it was back then.
I'll be back with help as quick as I can.
Okay. Now we have to pick up a few things. This kind of stuff, these kind of things can be rather tedious with games like these, you know, picking up things. Mainly because you have to be really dead on even with them in order to pick them up, so it's really tedious. And this was actually one of the first experiences. I actually played Silent Hill long before I ever played Resident Evil, because I was only 9 when Resident Evil came out. But with Silent Hill, this is one of the very first games that I ever played where the map was so important. And it's not a very big map. Obviously, this is not Grand Theft Auto. This is a very small town. So we'll pick up the map. Excuse me. This is one of very few stages, and I actually played very long into my second run with the game. Obviously, I'm kicking myself now because I'm realizing now that I never saved it. Oh well. So we will exit out of that. There's not many save points in this game, which is why a lot of people were not as pleased. You know, Silent Hill was definitely a well-received game, but the fact that there were so little save points within the game did frustrate a few people because you know, it's the games are rather long. Like Silent Hill is, I think minus the cutscenes, cuts out about 8 hours. I think the rest of the games are around that length too. And with very little save points, that could be frustrating. Now we have to go to the radio. Okay, and I think we picked up everything that we could. So we try to X out the door. That will lead into another cutscene here. Oh, I should have switched to the gun.
What's that? Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio?
After our little bird or whatever creature pops up, I'll show you guys how we select the weapons in this game. It's rather irritating. Okay. Now, here was the problem with a lot of the early Silent Hill games, particularly Silent Hill 1 and 2. You cannot switch between weapons randomly by controller. What's become common now with survival horror games and action games in general is that you can just switch weapons with like R2, R1 with the controller. Not so much here. You have to select it in the menu, equip yourself, and then you can go back. And the reason why I'm not going to go really far beyond this point with the bar scene is because from here it's a lot of tedious combat. Silent Hill and really survival horror games in general are really well known for having very slow, very tedious combat, and really survival horror games have gone really the bad route because combat should not really be in survival horror games. It should be all about the atmosphere. Now there is, as we go farther into the game, which again I don't want to hold this, I don't want to do this video really long, is the puzzle element. The puzzle elements were not really as sound in Silent Hill 1 as they were in Silent Hill 2, 3, and the rest of the Silent Hill games. So that wasn't as big of an element with Silent Hill 1 as they would become in later games. Excuse me, just one second. Apologies again. Okay, quick cough there. I hate colds. Okay, we'll just discuss the technical element here. Graphically, this looks fine. And a lot of people did ask the question, why was there so much frickin' fog in this city? And really, Team Silent's explanation for the fog was that because of the short processing power of the PS1, with the fog, they could limit the draw distance. And by limiting the draw distance, they're also, not using as much processing power. So as you go farther, the city slowly starts to come into view. But it's a very short range. Like, this is very small, the draw distance. If this had been any further, like if they were not to have put the fog in there, then this game would have been much shorter because they would not have been able to do as much as they could. Like, the 3D cutscenes might not have been possible if they were to have eliminated the fog. So that's the reason why there's so much fog. And that's also the reason why they did it for the PS2 as well, with the Silent Hill 2. In fact, that was one of the main criticisms, because I think last year they came out with Silent Hill Collections HD, which is a really piss-poor collection. It was only Silent Hill 1 and 2, and let's take a look at our map here really quick. It was really poor. They meant to put more games, and I said Silent Hill 1 or 2. It was Silent Hill 2 and 3. My apologies. They initially had plans for Silent Hill 1 to be on the HD collection, but it just did not look well in HD. And really, games like this were not meant to be HD because, they're 32-bit. They're so far away from being HD resolution that it would make it impossible for them to do HD, because if they did it HD, you could see every single pixel in this game. So that's how bad it would look. And really, with the HD collection, with Silent Hill 2, what I was saying before, what they tried to do was make the fog in Silent Hill 2 more realistic. So they changed it around. Ah, crap. I hit square accidentally. Aim, you bastard. I really hate those things. It's like a waste of ammo. Again, back to Silent Hill 2. One of the things about Silent Hill 2, what they changed about the dynamics of the fog, was that by making it more realistic, they extended the draw distance, which turned out to be a double-edged sword. You could see more of the game, you could see more of the environment in front of you. However, you could also see the flaws in the design. So things that were not meant to be seen in Silent Hill 2 around you were being seen. Like, there were cuts in the environment, they were glitching out really bad. The entire collection was just glitch hell to begin with. But yeah, that caused a lot of problem with the HD collection. I was still really upset that Silent Hill 1 was not included in the HD collection. I can care less whether they actually did it HD or not, because I really, if I really felt if they were going to do a collection, you might as well just do the entire thing, because Silent Hill 1 is the first of the series. It's a really great game. And we'll cut this look back here. How does it hold up? Silent Hill 1 holds up really well. I like Silent Hill 1. Obviously there are some things that age well, some things that don't. Like these character models are really odd looking. And my radio's going nuts. Not liking this camera angle. Yeah. Frickin' dog. Cool element here, you could actually still see it twitching. Dead. But yeah, we'll end it here. Again, it holds up pretty well. Not necessarily technically. The graphics, the 3D cutscenes hold up very well. The graphics don't necessarily. But I really like Silent Hill. How do I feel about the rest of the series? I would really like to see a Silent Hill 5. Just keep the continuity of the series there. The series has the continuity has gone really bizarrely in such bizarre directions that there doesn't seem to be any continuity with the series anymore. So I would like to see Silent Hill 5 just to continue the basic story, the basic element of the series. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time.